Hi everyone, it's Heidi from flutterbyheidi.co.uk, back again with another crazy cat project for you this week, and that's because we're using the 9 Live stamp set. So this is a stamp set that has some super cat images in it, excuse the glare. So you've got a lovely outline cat and then some infills which gives some stripes or some patches, some sentiments that coordinate, true love has 4 paws, and some lovely little accents as well. And I've used them this week to create 3 cards. So the first was our basic card, which is this one here, just a simple cutting and layering, but using a punch to create a layer on both sides. Then we had our lovely concertina card with our lovely Gingham Gala cats on there, and finally this time we're doing a wiper card, which is just a little more unusual kind of mechanism, but stands up really nicely and of course folds flat for posting as well. So that's our project for today. So off we go. So to start off with, you need some, I'm going to use Calypso Coral cardstock because in our Gingham Gala DSP, which is this lovely gingham here, we have some double-sided patterns, a small and a large gingham, and we've got Balmy Blue and Highland Heather, Daffodil Delight, Lemon Lime Twist and some Calypso Coral. So first of all, cut 2 pieces of cardstock which are 7 1/4 by 4 inches. I will convert this to centimetres as well, I haven't done it yet, and put those on my blog. And then on one end of both pieces, score at 3/4 and at 1 1/2. Okay, so again repeat that at 3/4 and at 1 1/2. And then while you've got your trimmer out, we want to cut our designer series paper to go on the front, and you want a piece that is 5 1/2 by 3 3/4. So I'm going to cut my 3 3/4 first, and then 5 1/2. And then I want some Whisper White to go with that. And I'm just going to cut a piece that is slightly smaller because I'm going to go for 3 1/4 on the short edge by 5 inches. And that's that you get to see the DSP border as well. And then our final piece, which we want, is for our sentiment, and so I've cut pieces here. So this is 1 inch by 1 3/4 inches. That's the sentiment, and then just very slightly larger, some Calypso Coral that is 1 1/8, which is that little mark there, by 2 7/8 of an inch. So those are for our layers as we go there. So pop those items to one side, and the first thing we're going to do is we're going to fold and burnish our score lines. So just fold them over and reinforce those score lines. Try and make sure they line up nice and straight. So do the larger one first and the smaller one, and then that smaller one just bend forwards as well. And then our mechanism is going to be like this. So we're going to have 2 zigzags. This one is going to attach to the back here, and this one is going to be the mechanism part here. You can see on my card like so. Okay. Oh, one more piece of card I didn't cut actually, but let's do it now. Is the mechanism. Talking of the mechanism, so you need a piece of card that is 1 1/2 by 2 1/2. So I think that is, in fact, that should be my 1 1/2. Yeah, 1 1/2 by 2 1/2 inches. And then just mark at 3/4 of an inch on one side and on the bottom as well. Now you can obviously do that, I'm doing it with my scorer, but you can do that with a pen to make it easier to see, and then you just score diagonally on those 2 lines across the corner. So that's our mechanism. So before we get any further with our mechanism, let's get our DSP on, because you want to put that on while it's nice and flat. So just pop that onto the front. And then before we've got a little bit of stamping to do on here, and that's for our little mouse. So I'm just going to use some grey granite for the infill and just some Memento Black for the outline of the mouse. So to help with positioning, I've just already punched a little cat. So our cat's going to sit kind of over here. So we're going to pop our mouse just on the bottom, like so. Then my grey granite for the infill. And like so, there's our little mouse. And then in order to create a little, to ground it, what I've done is just put a little bit of ink on your ink block, and I'm just using a blender pen here. Oh, nice little mousy squeak. And then just add a little bit of grounding, and then we're going to do the same. Across there. So that gives us a little bit of ground for our things to sit on. Pop your ink away before you put your elbow in it, which is my usual trick. And then what I've also done is I've just stamped the bowl stamp in some grey granite onto a bit of Calypso coral and hand cut that out. So again, we'll pop that to one side as well. So having done our stamping on here, let's add this layer to the front of our card. And as I said, I've deliberately left a slightly larger border than usual so you get to see that pretty paper. Okay. Right. So now what we need to do is actually start creating our mechanism. So this is our card and this is our pop-up mechanism here. And what we want is that's going to pop up when it's in the upright position. So as it folds down, it folds like so. Okay, so this is where we're going to attach it. Now I'm going to use some sticky tape, and you want it to poke up not too much, but I'm just going to put a bit of sticky tape across there on the reverse of that corner. And then trim away the excess because you don't want anything to stick. So you want it to pop a little bit up. You can always trim it afterwards, so don't ever worry. But obviously if you were putting a sentiment on this, you'd want it to come up higher as well. So as you can see, as that folds, that pops down and then it pops up afterwards. So now we're going to attach our two sides together. Now I am using super sticky red tape here. That's for speed. If you can use the red tape if you want, or you could obviously use some Tombow if you've got time for that to dry. But because I want to show you the card finished, we're going to do that and to use this red tape. And what you're going to do, the important thing on this is to get it so that it does lie nice and flat. So I'm going to line it up on the long edge and try and get that as square as I possibly can. And then take my tape away. And then this one, nice and flat. Okay, so you'll see that pops down and pops up. Now, because our cat, obviously, if we put it like that, our cat would be leaning, as I showed you originally. So I just used, all I'm going to do is just punch, in this instance, a cat out of a scrap piece of cardstock. Just what I've got here. Not least of all because my other one I managed to drop in my ink. So it's got some nice black markings on it. And so what you want is to attach the cat when it's about like so. So a little bit of glue on the back there, and work out how your card's going to be, and I just pop my little cat there. And if you don't press it down too hard to start off with, you can see there mine's a little bit leaning, so I'm just going to do it at a slightly jauntier angle. Okay, so again, like so, and you'll see I've got a little bit of card poking through. So once he's stuck down, I keep saying he, I've actually got both a male and a female cat. I'm just going to trim that little bit of excess away, like so. So there we have our pop-up mechanism. Here we have our little bowl, so let's pop that in place with a mini dimensional would be helpful. And then we're going to do our sentiments. So I've actually already got this lined up on my Stamparatus. Now the great thing about the Stamparatus is for these ones, particularly where you're doing several cards, it does make it easy to line up. And certainly when I'm doing projects on video, it does make life a little easier. So hopefully I've got it right. So the first thing I'm going to do is stamp the outline of my cat. So I'm going to take just a scrap of some Whisper White card. I only seem to have large pieces handy. Okay, right. And I'm just going to tuck that in. Now I just create myself a little right angle because I find that much easier. And I'm going to first of all stamp my cat outline. So I'm just using some Memento Black here. Now I'm going to need to trim some of that when I come to punch it, but here we go. So there's my lovely little cat outline, and I'm now going to make him, I'm going to have some patches on this one. So I'm just using my grey granite again. I was going to use smoky slate. Oh, I've just spotted my smoky slate actually. Let's see how this looks. Actually, do you know what? I quite like my smoky slate grey and white cat. That comes out of the way, and then while we're here, we're going to do our sentiment. So I'm just popping that in here, and my sentiment I'm going to use my Calypso Coral ink for. Ink that up, and then what I want to do is add my little ball of wool, which, so just for speed, I popped onto here as well. And for that, I'm going to first of all use my Memento for the outline. This is another little stamp that is super because you've got a lovely outline. The ball of wool, and then this is just to show you how easy it is to line up. I've just put it on one of our small blocks, and just to show you don't need to have the Stamparatus if you haven't got one, but there you go, and that's lined up, so you've got a lovely effect there of our little matching ball of wool. Okay, so let's pop that to one side, pop my Stamparatus out of the way, and then bring my card back in. So all we're going to do is layer this one up, our sentiment, onto our narrow, remember we did a narrow board of just 1/8 of an inch. A couple of dimensionals on the back there. Again, dimensionals, you don't need to cover the back with dimensionals. Whenever you do some dimension, these are so good and so sticky, you just need to add a little bit in. So just decide how you want your border to be, like so. As mentioned, I need to just trim that off so it makes it easier to get in my punch. So pop your cat in and punch. And again, just to cut the dimensionals, I use mini dimensionals for the cat because they just enable me to easily pop them on the back there. And you could cut a little strip if you wanted to, or use the outside part of this just to cut a small strip for the tail. There we go. Remove the backing, and they're really easy to remove these, but if you have any difficulty, use the take your pick tool and you'll be fine. And then you can pop your cat on the front there, and there we have a fold flat card with a wiper mechanism to create a great fun card with a little element of surprise. There it is. Thanks for watching. Come back and see me again soon, and don't forget, if you'd like to see more of these projects, then either subscribe to my YouTube using the subscribe now button, or pop along to my blog flutterbyheidi.co.uk. subscribe there to get notifications, and you can follow the links there to my shop if you want to purchase any of the products here. I do hope you choose me as a demonstrator. I'd be really honoured. Thanks for watching, and come back and see me soon. Bye now.